You jumped up to the 39th most valuable brand in the Interbrand.
First time on the list in our 40-year history.
So what's that about?
I got the call. I was obviously pleasantly surprised, happy, and validated from all the good work we've been doing. It really came down to three things. I'd say 60 to 70% of it is what we've been doing with Snapdragon, to build Snapdragon beyond a tech enthusiast brand to a household name. That was a major driver of it. The Interbrand 100 list this year is about companies who are entering new ecosystems, building new ecosystems, and disrupting, driving transformation on this diversification journey for the past several years, how we're partnering with some of the biggest companies in the world across different business sectors.
You set a tough benchmark.
It's pretty amazing. KPIs and those stats and the results that we've seen have been phenomenal.
Don, hey, welcome to the CMO podcast again.
Thank you for having me again.
Here at the A&A Masters, it's a big meeting, 2,500 people. Most of them come to the big presentations. You're doing one today in the afternoon in a couple hours. So I want you to go there first with us. Are you nervous about it?
Not
Butterflies?
really. Every time you get on stage, there's a little bit of that. But when you know what you're talking about and you can tell a story and it's coming from your experiences and you've got passion for it, it all comes pretty naturally.
Yeah. Well, you're good in your feet. I've seen you many times. So it's just about being comfortable with what you're doing, right? So what's your topic today?
I'm actually going to talk about sort of how brand value drives business value.
Oh, wonderful.
And that the age-old sort of challenge that we have as marketers in convincing oftentimes the rest of the C-suite or the organization in general, and then what is the recipe to actually prove that out as you go into sort of different marketing activities and initiatives. So it's and then I'm going to use Snapdragon as the case study. And so it'll be sort of a thread throughout.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a room full of marketers, so it's going to be more show, less tell. It should be pretty cool.
Yeah. When the A&A opened up, I went to the A&A Growth Council, CMO Growth Council meeting, and I sat in there and they talked about the challenges, the priorities they're tackling. The first one was proving the value of brand to financial value of the company and the results. So you're spot on what the Growth Council is working. And I still think with all the data we have and all the analytics, that's still an issue that so many companies are wrestling with. So I can't wait for the talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the bottom line will be?
The bottom line will be if you have the right recipe, which we're not going to reveal here because I'm going to reveal it on stage, that ultimately what you're trying to do is drive resonance, and resonance drives action. And then that action, turns into results. And then those results you can share back with the organization. And there's lots of tailwinds in our favor. I was just at the Interbrand 100 event last week in New York, and the data that they shared with regards to the Interbrand 100. For example, over the last 20 plus years, the Interbrand 100 has outperformed the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. From a business company results perspective. So I think that there's lots of tailwind data in our favor. I think we need to help ourselves. I think we need to stop talking performance versus brand. Your brand has to perform. So if we can help ourselves, I think that's another thing we can do.
Yeah.
So
Mark Pritchard said earlier in this meeting, is there any other kind of marketing other than performance marketing?
Right. I mean, it's just like it all has to have some sort of objective.
Yeah.
I think we can help ourselves a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, you jumped up to the 39th most valuable brand in the Interbrand.
First time on the list in our 40-year history.
Yeah. So what's that about? What do you think's behind that?
When I got the call, a couple days before, I was obviously pleasantly surprised, and happy and validated. From all the good work we've been doing. So Interbrand tracks the company for 3 years before they're even eligible to be on the list. Once that sort of process is completed, then it's all about ranking and establishing those rankings. So the first question I asked to Gonzalo, who's the CEO of Interbrand, I said, how did we get here? I kind of have an idea about on what we've been doing, but I'd like to hear your methodology a little bit more. And it really came down to three things. I'd say 60 to 70% of it is what we've been doing with Snapdragon, to build Snapdragon beyond a tech enthusiast brand to a household name. And that was a major driver of it. Now, Interbrand, if you make it on the list with Interbrand, it's based on how financial reporting happens in your company. So Snapdragon as a brand would never show up at Interbrand 100 because we don't report financials on Snapdragon separately.
Yep.
because it cuts across product categories and businesses. So Qualcomm obviously is the name on the list. So about 65 to 70% is the work we've been doing there. And then I think the other two things that he mentioned were our diversification strategy. The Interbrand 100 list this year is about companies who are entering new ecosystems, building new ecosystems, and disrupting and driving transformation. And Qualcomm, we've been on this diversification journey for the past several years. And it's working. And so it's proving out even in places like this. And then the third thing is our tremendous partnerships that we've announced over the last several years with Aramco and Meta and Microsoft, et cetera. And how we're partnering with some of the biggest, companies in the world across different business sectors, things like that. All of that together kind of culminated in us popping on at number 39.
Congratulations. It's great.
Thank you.
Now, when you think about you can go to a meeting every week in our industry, where do you feel like you learn the most? Like over the last year or two of meetings you go to?
Oh, wow. I mean, I learn a lot from my people, from my team. But as far as external sources, there's been great forums. I have had the honor and privilege of being on the Forbes top 50 CMO list for the past 4 years. And that event that Seth Matlins puts on is an amazing event. I learn a lot from my colleagues there. And that is a big sort of sponge moment for me over the course of the year. Some of the Patau stuff that I participate in has been great, not only for networking and just getting to know some of my peers, but also some key learnings about what others are doing. And then through that network of CMOs that I've built, I don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call Emily Kitchen from Lenovo or call Craig Brommers from American Eagle and say, hey, like I saw you did this. And this is, it's really great work. Tell me about it. And I just sent Lorraine Toohill from Google an email because I just love the new Pixel stuff that they've put out.
Yeah.
That's another sort of constant exchange and dialogue and learning, for me.
No, I should pause on that for our audience. That's a very powerful thing you just said. Not everyone thinks to do that.
Right.
And I think we're not alone.
No.
So many people are wrestling with the same issues.
Right.
You can learn so much from these people. They're happy to do it. Our industry is generally pretty generous.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think when you're wrestling with something, think about someone else who may have the same kind of issue or had the issue. Give them a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so good. It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost anything. It's great from a sort of a sounding board perspective. And I value that tremendously.
Yeah. Now you're coming off a big conference, the 10th annual Snapdragon Summit.
Yes.
I saw lots of video of you, of others on it. It was very energetic. You called it, I think, the best ever conference you've had of the 10 years. So tell me, why was it the best ever? What happened there to, prompt you to say that?
Well, I mean, Snapdragon Summit has been it's one of our only owned events. And it's really about immersing our audience. And it's primarily focused on media influencer, KOL, and our insiders as the main audience, global. And then we integrate our partners into the agenda. But it's really about immersing everybody into the Snapdragon world. I call it Snapdragon land. And not only just announcing new products and new innovation and technology, but also, showing how it's being applied, showing a little bit about what the future looks like. So with that, how do we create this environment, and my team's always about raising the bar, and do, how do we make it better, and how do we evolve it over time? We start with a great base, which is Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so, everybody was happy. It's a happy place.
Yeah.
So you've got mood on your side. We changed venues this year. We decided to shake it up a little bit and go outdoor stage, indoor stage, which worked out really, really well. It was a little hot, but for the most part, just the conversation, the view, the environment was spectacular. And so we got a lot of really positive feedback. And then we changed the format a little bit this year too, where we really positioned Cristiano as sort of that thought leader.
Your CEO.
Yeah, our CEO. And in the past, he's done everything. Like he's announced the products or he's talked about the products. And what we really wanted him to do is really provide thought leadership about where things are going from our perspective. And of course, AI is a big topic of conversation. And we've been a company commercializing and researching AI for like 14 years. So we wanted him to sort of talk about it and his vision. And put it in the context of Snapdragon and what Snapdragon delivers. And so we arranged for him just to have a very short sort of day one visionary keynote around personal AI. And we thought that was really interesting to the audience. And then we arranged for him to talk to do several C2C conversations. And we brought in partners like Shantanu from Adobe. We brought in Tarek from Humane AI. We started with Rick Osterloh from Google. And so it was just a really nice sort of 3 days of a little bit of thought leadership, product launch experiences, fun.
Yeah.
We bring our insiders, our community to Snapdragon Summit. They provide a lot of the energy as well. And so I just think the team looks every year, we analyze, we deconstruct, and then we say, okay, what could we do next year to make it even better?
Let's talk about Snapdragon. I think that's what you're going to talk about on the big stage. But, it was launched in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an 18-year-old brand or so. It's a huge brand. I know you don't report it separately, but everything I deduce and read about, it's a gigantic brand. It crosses your various businesses. So could you talk a little bit about, take us back to 2007. What was the insight or the catalyst to launch this new to the world brand / brand name, sub-brand, I guess, of Qualcomm?
Right.
And take us a little bit through about how did you build it from nothing to a monster in a good way, a major driver of your growth?
Well, it predates me, actually. So I've only been at the company 9 years total, CMO for 4. So the stewardship of the brand has been under my tutelage for 4 years. Prior to that, there's a lot of folklore about, how did the brand just come to exist? What I can tell you is that a long, long time ago, before my time, the company really transitioned from more of an IP technology licensing company to a product company. And with the advent of that, introduced its first kind of set of semiconductor chips. And they needed a name. And the target market, the primary target market at that time was really Asia, throughout Asia. And a lot of the customer base was there, whether it be China, Taiwan, Korea. And so they decided to use, I believe it was Interbrand, to do a name exploration. And several things came to bear. One, dragons are very revered in folklore, especially in Asia. Snapdragon translates into Mandarin as Xiaolong. It's like fast, performance, fast dragon. The color red is a very popular color. And our icon, our fireball, is sort of the yin and the yang, the power performance sort of thing. So it all kind of came together. And then at that time, there was a little bit more focus on a dragon as a symbol of what Snapdragon is. We've kind of moved away from that, except for in gaming. So it got launched, and I think whoever sort of went through that process did a fantastic job and created a really cool looking, iconic piece of clay to mold. Fast forward, and Snapdragon sort of just kind of hummed along a little bit. And I think the company really, after creating it, really didn't know what to do with it, because the company foundationally and fundamentally is an engineering and technology company, and really didn't understand the value of brand or building the brand or what it meant to build the brand. They named it, they created a logo, and they thought they were done.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
So fast forward to I joined the company in 2016. Snapdragon was kind of experiencing very good sort of foundational awareness and affinity in Asia, but that was pretty much it, primarily China. And that's the only place we'd put any investment behind building it as a more consumer-facing brand. And that was primarily with tech enthusiasts in Asia, who tend to be more tech savvy anyway. But it was very unstructured and not purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of sitting there, and I was really thinking, wow, this is powerful asset. There's more that we can do. And as we look to diversify and expand and grow where Snapdragon kind of lives, we're going to enter markets where we're not the leader, or it's not a greenfield opportunity where we're going to have competition. So the power of building this brand is really going to pay off for us. So before Cristiano became CEO and I became CMO, we had a conversation. And I said, I really think that we need to focus on Snapdragon a lot more as we look towards what's the future of mobile, as we look towards other product categories, because I think it's going to be a really important component to our success. And he said, I agree. And I can't tell you how refreshing it is to have a CEO who was supportive of what you're trying to do. So we sort of started formulating a plan to really bring Snapdragon into the light more. And that's where it all started. And then since then, it's been a tremendous journey of challenging, the status quo with regards to investment portfolio and investment strategy, convincing the rest of my peers in the C-suite as well as the company that it was worth spending the money and the time to do this, and that there was going to be true results. And building that credibility, and we've done that, and we made another really, really important pivot about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when all this momentum and when Snapdragon started to be more well known around the world, where Cristiano came to me and said, "I want Snapdragon to be a consumer brand, and I want it to become a cultural icon."
Good brief.
And I was like, "Amazing. Do you really know what you just asked?" Because that's a big thought. And I said, "Are you prepared to really do what it takes to get there?" And I said, "It's exciting. I mean, it's any CMO's dream to have that be asked of you. But it's a lot. And from a company who couldn't spell the word brand 7, 8 years ago, it's a lot. So, but he's been committed and excited, and that really took us to the next level. And that's what you see today over the past 4 years, all the work that we put into. That's why Snapdragon Summit is what it is today. That's why we have like 50 million views of an event every year by just the general public, because they're interested in seeing what we're doing. And of course, the number one challenge is you can't walk into a store and buy a Snapdragon, right? So how do I take that, 5.5 years of experience at Intel, with the Intel Inside playbook that I learned and knew very, very well, but put it in the context of something much bigger, which is our opportunity with Snapdragon, and kind of create a 2.0 version of that. And that's what we've been doing.
Well, it's a great name, as you said. It really is. And talk a bit about the brand character of Snapdragon. So every brand obviously has an attitude, a tone, a point of view, a voice. So talk about that, because I think you have managed that pretty well.
Yeah, one of the things that we needed to bring to, as I mentioned, the brand was sort of unstructured and undisciplined. We had to bring some structure, in architecturally speaking, to how we were going to build success. So first, we had started with the fundamentals, brand ethos. What is Snapdragon? What does it stand for? Who is it in service of? And then how do we show up in the world and tell our story? We start off with some great assets, right? Everyone loves a good icon, and we have a tremendous icon. The Fireball is a tremendous icon. And our ultimate goal is to have the Fireball stand on its own. And whenever you see that Fireball, it's Snapdragon. Because one of the challenges we have is Snapdragon's kind of a long name. So when you put the Fireball and Snapdragon together, spatially speaking, it can be challenging at times. We had to build a brand ethos. So we started out with, who do we stand for? What's our sort of manifesto? What does it stand for? Who's it in service of? And we built from the past with a nod to the future, our signature red color, and we evolved that. We introduced a new color palette for the brand to kind of inject boldness and joyfulness, which is part of the ethos, into it, and how we visually show up. Everything from our photography style to how we talk about it and copy, all that was formalized for the first time. And I call that Snapdragon 2.0. And we've been on the 2.0 sort of train for now about 3.5 years. And we actually are just about to roll out 3.0, which is a refreshed brand ethos based on what we've learned over the past 3 or 4 years. And the good news is that it's evolving in a really, really compelling way. And we're seeing all the really thoughtfulness that we worked with our agency partners as well as the internal team to put together kind of the meaning of this whole thing really pay off and where it shows up. And it's really cool because it lives in multiple product categories.
Right.
So at a macro level, it has to stand for something that people can understand and people can rally behind. But then in its instances, it also has to be very, very sort of the steward of product truth, whether it's in your car or in your phone or in your PC or in your glasses or in your watch. And so we have to bring that context as well. And so it's been challenging and fun, and we really like where we're headed. And we're seeing the fruits of our labor will pay off not only in business metrics, but also in recognition, like Brand Z for the first time. Snapdragon showed up this year as well. at number 38 on Brand Z, which is phenomenal. And then, of course, we talked about Interbrand. From a business perspective, my finance team could not be happier that the pull that we've created with Snapdragon in product categories like smartphone has enabled us to increase ASPs, to maintain healthy margins, and to grow market share.
That's what a brand does, right? Yeah.
Brand does.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking of Rocket and Jonathan Mildenhall's impact there. He went there, I don't know, it's been 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And I watched online a lot of the videos of him internally as well as externally, kind of restaging, renewing the ethos and the attitude and the tone of voice of Rocket. And it's been very positive, very energetic, good for the business. But actually, I think there's a lot of parallels with what you're doing with Snapdragon and what he and they are doing with Rocket.
Yeah. And when you continually evolve, like Rocket has as well, you have to look at like new, pieces of the puzzle that you might be missing. And then you have to understand kind of where generationally people are going with their attitudes. And figure out, are you being left behind? Are you tracking? Are you getting too far ahead? And one of the things that, again, as part of our Snapdragon 3.0 or 2.5 3.0 evolution is, we are taking a cue from Gen Z, Gen Alpha when it comes to brands with purpose. And when you talk about affinity and loyalty, it's not just good enough to have a great product anymore, especially with these generations. They want to feel good about their purchases and the brands they associate themselves with. And they want to feel like those brands are also doing good. And Snapdragon, because of who we are and the technology that we do a lot of good because we enable people all over the world to have accessibility to a technology and what that can do for them in their daily lives. So that in itself is amazing. It's an amazing story, but we also had to lean in. And so we went down this sort of purposefulness path a little bit with the brand and built some associations and some partnerships that kind of put an accentuation of that goodness. And again, it's just another aspect, another dimension of the brand that we've introduced in the last year and a half.
What did you learn at Intel that's been most useful for you in this process with Snapdragon?
First and foremost is that you can bring relevance and resonance to something that is less tangible, and you can tell a story around that. And Intel did that masterfully. Intel Inside was a masterful, master class in
classic case study
in marketing, something that you can't buy. So I took a lot of the pages out of the Intel Inside playbook, and then I also learned a lot from the limitations of that story. That Intel Inside story was limited by product category. Intel as a company sort of missed a couple really key inflection points in the technology sort of revolution. And so over time, that opportunity became smaller and smaller and smaller and more verticalized. And then when you saw, after building it and establishing it, they took their foot off the gas and started focusing more on performance. And you've seen sort of the degradation that has had. So understanding that, learning from that, and making sure that we don't make the same mistakes or head down the same path. But what they've done to take the brand and then couple it with every part of whether it's a linear funnel exercise or a non-linear funnel exercise was a masterclass for sure.
Yeah. I had you on the show about 4 years ago. You were a new CMO. You're in your first year as CMO. We had a great chat. This one's even better, by the way. And my 3 takeaways, though, I look back on that. You talked about the need for marketing to be accountable for business results. You talked about how companies need to own their narrative, and we're speaking a lot about that right now. And you talked about how leadership and leaders need to evolve to build stronger skills and empathy. Now we're here 4 years later. You're a more experienced, more confident CMO because you've been in the how do those takeaways sound? Is that Don today as CMO, or would you add a few things to that?
Yeah, I think progress has been made, but there's still a lot to do. We were 4 years ago. We were just coming out of COVID. I became CEO in 2021, so we were kind of still in the mess. So I think the empathy piece of it is still really important, but the context is a little bit different because things have shifted so much, and with the advent of AI, there's a whole new complex sort of algorithm that goes into that equation. And as we transform marketing, and as we're all talking about it here at A&A and just pretty much everywhere over the past year, how AI is going to transform marketing, or the use of AI will transform marketing and the discipline. Empathy is going to be even more important because people are scared. And there's lots of fear out there about what is AI going to take my job? Is it going to replace my skills? So empathy is going to be, as we go on this journey together and individually, empathy is going to continue to be really important. And it's not about like getting you out of your locked down house and back into society empathy. It's or empathy because you are locked down in your house and you have no contact with anybody, to empathy about upskilling, job retraining, and showing the benefits and integrating the benefits of AI into your workflows so that it seems more natural and less daunting. So I think that empathy still applies, but in different contexts.
Yeah.
Accountability is still something really, really important. I think we're still on that journey of convincing the rest of the C-suite about the importance of the discipline as a business driver. But we've made a lot of progress. And I think in some companies it's a lot easier because, especially in like packaged goods and things like that, like the brand is the business, right? If Tide loses its brand cachet, the business falls apart, for example. And not that case in technology in some cases. So still on that journey, but a lot of progress has been made. And I don't think we'd be able to do what we've been doing for the past 3 years if we hadn't built that credibility and if the company hadn't become believers in what we've done. We've made bold moves in the last 3 years, especially around partnerships. And our partnership with Manchester United was a bold move. I would have put a 5% probability on that whole partnership actually coming to fruition when I first engaged with them on the topic. And the fact that we pushed that boulder up the hill and got over the finish line is a testament to progress that we've made. So we've, a lot of boldness has come into play since I started that I didn't really know how it manifests itself at the beginning, but I knew we had to do something.
I do want to talk with you primarily today with the rest of our time about sports, actually. You just took us there. And I also do want to talk about AI because I heard you speak about AI at a meeting at Deloitte with CMOs a couple months ago. And it was a fabulously useful talk. So I want to go there. But first on sports, I've heard you say that it's become a very powerful platform to scale Snapdragon's awareness. And you said Manchester United, but you're Formula One, Drive to Survive, the Live Golf Tour. You're in a lot of places. So we didn't talk about that 4 years ago.
That's true.
Right? And you said
it didn't really exist.
No, right. So I want you to go there. Why did you have that awakening? Sports is a major part of your platform and your brand now.
Right.
So how did you come to that? How do you feel about it? Is it working for you? What could others learn?
Sure. It all starts with how and where do we want to show up with the brand? And how do we attach ourselves to people, our audiences, in a compelling way that's relevant to them? So instead of just talking about technology for technology's sake or speeds and feeds and specs and things like that and features and benefits, what Snapdragon really does is it enables people to explore their passions and experience their passions in very compelling ways. If we are inside your phone, we make your pictures look better. We make your music sound better. We make your ability to watch your favorite team in 8K better. And so we really kind of create these experiences that people sort of are manifesting themselves in their passions. And people love art and they love photography and they love music and they love sports. And that's where they find affinity in their lives. And that's where their passions lie. So we decided to attach ourselves and the brand to people's passions. Sports being one of them. I'm a big believer that people feel passionate about players and teams, not so much leagues. So that's where we've gone with our sports partnerships. Mostly at the team level. In the case of Bryson, at the player level, although he has a team too, with the Crushers. But that's where we started in sports. We wanted to align those sports activities with where we saw business opportunity to build more brand affinity for Snapdragon with different audiences across sport.
It's working. It's still in the early days. How do you measure if it's effective? Is it qualitative, quantitative?
I'm going to share some data today
on the stage.
Our first year of being in the front of shirt partner with Manchester United. Again, I mentioned earlier, we knew this was a big deal. It's a large investment on an annual basis. And, they presented me with the numbers, and that was part of the business case to getting it there. But then the results that we've seen after the first year have just blown my mind.
Wow.
I knew this was one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in sport. I didn't know how valuable until we got the results after our first year. And this is with a team that isn't really doing very well on the pitch. But it almost doesn't matter, because when you're partnered with a brand like Manchester United, their brand ethos is so big. They're a global sports brand. They're arguably the largest global sports brand in the world, by so many different metrics. 1.1 billion fans around the world. It's not just about Manchester. It's not about the UK. It's about their brand affinity around the world and what that can do for Snapdragon globally. So it brings us massive scale and reach for the brand. It allows us a massive storytelling platform to do amazing things and create amazing content. I mentioned on stage today that after season 1, 9.5 billion impressions for Snapdragon, which is the AVE equivalent of 182 Super Bowl ads in one season.
Wow.
With a team that ended up 12th in the Premier League. Pretty phenomenal. Upwards of almost 500 million video views of the content that we've did with the club. Our launch video with Eric Cantona was the most watched piece of Manchester United content for a front of shirt launch in history of the club.
What's driving it? It's how you're doing it too, right?
Well, it's the execute. It comes down to execution, and it comes down to the recipe I talk about in my conversation today on stage. It's really about knowing your audience, providing context, making it relevant, driving that resonance to action. I've shared some stats on stage today as well about 85% of Manchester United fans are aware of Snapdragon, think it's an amazing technology, provides premium performance, and has genuine love for the brand. That's critical. That's
only after a year or two.
That's only after a year.
Wow.
Being a front of shirt partner.
You set a tough benchmark.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So those KPIs and those stats and the results that we've seen have been phenomenal. And we're not stopping there. We're always looking to do other things. We've another thing that we've done is we've tried to drive innovation into our contracts. There's these standardized store sponsorship kind of deals that people do, and you're basically exchanging money for assets. But we wanted to build some innovation into the contract, and with the cooperation and collaboration of the folks at Manchester United, we were able to do things like once every season we can choose a cause of our choice and replace the Snapdragon logo with that cause's brand. And drive a whole storytelling platform around that. I talked about brand with purpose before. Yeah. That's one avenue, an asset now that we have to tell that part of the Snapdragon story. So that's phenomenal. And I share the Red case study on stage today, and the partnership with Red that we had this season, which was a huge success. We also have pass-through rights. Snapdragon. It lives inside of so many amazing products from amazing brands, and I have amazing brand partners. And as part of the marketing mix, I market with them and alongside them. And so I wanted to be able to bring them into our world. So I have pass-through rights in the product categories that I own. So I can bring a Samsung in, and on the smartphone side, I can bring a Dell in on the PC side, and we can storytell together, and I can help them get more value, and attach themselves to this brand ethos that we're building between Manchester United and Snapdragon. That's another piece of innovation that most sponsorship agreements do not include. That has been super, super productive for us, and providing more value to our partners, which has been great. So those are some of the things that we've done. We've done that with our partnership with Mercedes and Formula One, which the advent of that was really about our growth in automotive, and other things that we've done. So it is working. We're trying to drive innovation in it. We're trying to look at things differently. And how we exploit these partnerships. And then we also are very committed to making sure our technology is helping our partner as well. And so it's helping the Manchester United Football Club become a better Manchester United Football Club through the use of technology. It's helping Mercedes-AMG Formula One become a better team through the use of our technology. And we think that's really important. It's sort of a two-way partnership.
That's a fabulous story. I mean, what is normally a transaction and a contract that is transactional, right, into a creative, innovative partnership.
Yeah, and we're always
it's
learning
huge.
from others. I mean, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I think what Meta has done with WhatsApp, and they're also a Mercedes partner.
Yeah.
What they've done with their partnership with Mercedes is incredible. And with the storytelling platforms of the Netflix documentary on Kimi Antonelli and how he won the seat on driving the car down Fifth Avenue in New York with Lewis, and that was really, really amazing innovation, and how they structured their relationship with Mercedes to be able to do that. I was a little envious of, to be honest with you, and as we're looking at our continuation with the team, we're looking at building some of that into our contractual partnership as well.
You talked about passions to align your brand with. Sports is a big one. You throw out some other ones. Is there a second kind of area you think is really rich for you?
Music is really rich for us. We've done a lot of things. We had a partnership with Live Nation. We've done some things there. We have our Snapdragon Sound Studio series that we've done. We've done some things with iHeart in the past. We haven't really nailed something that we think is long term. So we're continuing to learn in that area. But we've brought music into our other partnerships. We just did a collab with Manchester United and the artist Kaleo for the second season launch of the front of shirt, where we happened to connect the dots between Kaleo, who's an amazing band from Iceland, who's a huge Manchester United fan, the lead singer, and he's always wanted to perform at Old Trafford. And so we brought that together with the front of shirt launch. There's a song that United fans love. It is a rewording of Country Roads. So he did a cover of that.
Wow.
Played it on the pitch in Old Trafford.
Pretty good.
Very, very good. And it was all shot on Snapdragon. And then we released that as part of the second season. So we've kind of intermixed things together. We like to cross-pollinate our partnerships. So that was super compelling. So music definitely. And then with photography or videography or just the whole art of creation, that again, devices that are powered by Snapdragon can bring a creator's sort of ideation process to another level, and the delivery to another level. We are actually launching Snapdragon Studios. So we're going to be producing original content in partnership with Live Nation, Sony Pictures, and we're going to give a go at a studio.
Physical space?
Virtual and physical.
Virtual and physical. Yeah, super. I was with you, I think in August it was, late August, outside Dallas at Deloitte's University, the training center. It's an academy they do for next generation CMOs, great program. And I heard you speak about your thought about AI in your organization in terms of skills, training, putting it at the center of where you're going. And it was a beautifully told story, massively helpful for the audience. So I'd like you we're a few months later, probably not.
I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah. But tell us a little bit about how you have thought about your organization with this, unbelievable technology. And you talked about the empathy skills have shifted, and I agree with that. It was a really wonderful story you told. So if you could just go how you're thinking about your organization, setting it up, the right design, work, structure for the future.
We've been going down this path that I think a lot of marketing organizations and CMOs have been going down, which is the introduction of AI tools. And so you have your existing organization and how it works and your existing workflows. And then you have these AI tools. And they were kind of almost sitting side by side. And then you were trying to connect the dots wherever possible. Oh, this tool is great for copy development. We're going to plug it in here. Oh, this tool is great for video editing. We're going to plug it in here. And we decided to take a pause on that for a second. And again, after consulting with some of my CMO friends, I was at a lunch with Jonathan Adishak from IBM. I was actually Ken Lyon. And we were chatting, and he was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm blowing up my organization. I'm putting AI at the center. I'm building a systems architecture. And then I'm reorganizing my team around that. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to do that. So I came back from that conversation, and we started down a marketing evolution exercise path where we are working with partners and our internal team. And we are building a systems architecture where AI is not a set of tools that sit over here, but there's a AI systems architecture that is a foundational layer. Then building workflows on top of that, and process on top of that, and then people around that. And we call it AI-powered, human-led. And so that's the tagline we came up with for the internal team to market it to my marketing team. Really, it's AI-powered and human-led. And we're in the middle of the process right now. We hope to roll out kind of phase 1 in January. But it's a really new way of looking at this that I feel will yield not only a better incorporation and integration of AI into the marketing discipline, but it will eliminate a lot of the fear because it will come with filling gaps, upskilling, training, and making sure that AI is truly helpful in the process of marketing and not friction driven or friction creator or creator friction. So that is how we're approaching it. And so far, so good. We are almost complete with the systems architecture piece. And that's also been a great exercise on its own because, we've been trying tools, we've been experimenting with stuff, but we didn't have everything figured out. And we've been working with a company called Proficient, and they've been helping us kind of fill in those gaps with maybe the tools that we have can be expanded upon, or maybe there's a new tool that we need or whatever to kind of fill in that architecture. And that's been going well too, in combination with the other pieces of the puzzle. But I have a great team who's working on it, and I'm excited about what the results are going to be.
I was very impressed when I heard you speak last time about the discipline and intentionality of the training and the inclusion of people and the phases of training. One is, general training on AI, and then on some of the tools that are an important part of your future.
Right.
Could you speak a bit about that?
Sure. Well, Again,
it's a real commitment to your people.
It's a real commitment. And obviously, being a company that's in the business of AI, as well as trying to integrate AI, we had to get on things pretty quickly. And so we have an AI council at Qualcomm. I'm on that council where any new tool or any new AI kind of thought is kind of brought through the council and vetted for, safety and enterprise readiness and all sorts of criteria. And once it gets through, right, then we go into test and learn or eval and then scale. So it starts there. So every Qualcomm employee has to go through AI training. And that's primarily driven by legal, which is sort of the do's and don'ts. And, don't be dropping, IP and proprietary code into ChatGPT. That's a no-no. And so everyone has to start there. And then we have our individual tool training. A good example is with Writer. Writer is a tool that I've deployed broadly. It's even now being deployed outside of marketing because people are seeing how valuable it is across the organization. The Writer team has been phenomenal on helping us train our people, but also make the most out of their platform. We've created like 25 custom apps. We are now moving into agents in their agentic platform and rolling that out as sort of a first mover. We're saving about 2,400 hours a month.
Wow.
By just deployment and use of the tool, kind of with our super users. And so on top of the AI training, we sort of do this super user FOMO type of thing where we pick some key people, we get them using the tools. They see how useful and helpful it is. They evangelize, and then people are like, oh, I want that too. And that's how we build scale and adoption throughout the organization in a kind of natural way. And it's worked so far. And now we're going to, again, enter this bigger transformational phase of this. And that's where we'll increase the upskilling piece of the puzzle as well. Because there'll be things like brand governance, which in the future, based on this architecture, 99% of it will be done by AI.
Right.
And so if you've got multiple people doing brand governance, you really need those people doing brand governance. Or do you need one person who spends a little bit of the time loading the rules into and updating those rules when they need to be updated, but then you can redeploy those other resources into other things. And so that's really where we're at today.
Now, for the CMOs listening to this or watching it, what's the biggest lesson if they want to do what you're doing and you were inspired by IBM, you're doing it, it seems to be going well. What's the biggest lesson you would share with them?
Make sure you know what your objective is. My objective and Jonathan's objective were different. I happen to be severely under-resourced marketing organization from a human capital perspective. So I'm really using this exercise to scale my capabilities. I like to say the world moves at the speed of TikTok. It's really hard to keep up. I could add 500 people to my organization and still not be able to keep up. So for me, it's a scaling exercise. I have to keep up with the pace of the business, our diversification, new things, and I'm not going to be able to grow my labor force at the same rate as needed. So AI is going to be a scale tool. In some cases, it will be a tool to become more efficient. And in some marketing organizations where, size is a problem or size has created slowness or bureaucracy, your objectives might be different. So my objective and Jonathan's, although we're deploying the same philosophy, are different.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So just understanding your objective, I think, is number one. How is this going to help you and your organization? And in my case, it's really about scale, which is less scary, I'll admit. And so I think if one takeaway is like, start with a really solid objective going into it, and then customize, your process around that.
Your brand is 40 years old, or your company is 40 years old this year. Are you having a birthday cake? You're doing anything? Are you having a quiet birthday, or are you a loud birthday?
We did an appropriate, I think, amount of celebration. We had in New York in May, we had like a 40th sort of anniversary celebration at NASDAQ. And then we hosted some partners and some media at a cocktail reception in Manhattan. Where we rolled out, it was 1985 when the company was founded. So I love that song, by Bowling for Soup, 1985. And so we basically showed technology from 85 and then technology today. So it was a fun interactive experience. We had like video games in 1985 versus video games today. We had computers and things like that. So it was interesting. Then we, for the employee base, we've had regional celebrations all over the world. Throughout the summer. And then we had a big celebration in San Diego in September at Snapdragon Stadium, where we invited the entire employee base to come and celebrate the 40 years of history. We rolled out some cool new technology, like we had a humanoid robot walking around, and we had a bunch of other stuff. And then we had our founder, Erwin Jacobs, come and speak, who's 91 now. And it was just a really fun time. Sense of pride for everybody, and it's good to celebrate these things.
Yeah,
we didn't go crazy, but it was the right amount of celebration.
Last time we talked, you said the first brand that made an impact on you as a young boy was Vans.
Yes,
you stand by that.
I stand by that.
Is there another one?
You're
not wearing Vans today.
I'm
by
not
the way,
wearing
you
Vans.
moved to Adidas.
I'm an Adidas.
Yeah,
of course. Right. My partnerships with both Mercedes and Manchester United. I have a lot of Adidas now. And I think Adidas is killing it, by the way. I think they're doing a fantastic job. And a shout out to Chris Davis at New Balance, because I think he's killing it.
Yeah,
I want to be Chris Davis when I grow up. I'm a sneaker guy, so shoes have been always a part of my brand ethos. Maybe not just a young, back in the day, because it didn't exist back then, but a brand that is in my daily life that I literally could not exist without.
There you
Starbucks.
Go. Yeah, Starbucks. Oh, wow. Say more.
Pretty much every day. No matter where I am in the world, my ritual is I don't drink coffee, which is even the weirdest thing, right?
They sell milk, by the way.
Yeah.
A little bit of coffee,
now they sell
mostly
protein.
milk.
No, I drink, I'm an ice cream tea guy. I love their ice cream tea. So every day I start out with a massive ice cream tea. There's one over there. And that's my ritual. And I could go to a Coffee Bean or a different place or Pete's, but it's not the same.
Yeah. So you're a real brand fan. They have a CEO who just had his 1 year anniversary, Brian Nickel, who came from Chipotle, his friend, ex-P&G guy. How do you think he's doing?
From what I can tell, I think he's making a lot of really, really good, positive decisions to move the brand and the company in the right direction. He's got different challenges, obviously, right? He's got, a massive retail sales force and or people force and all the challenges and opportunities that comes along with that. He's got stores he needs to continue to modernize and update and keep up with trends and consumer behavior and how people want to buy and consume things. I think pulling back the menu a little bit and kind of creating more purposefulness to it, I think is a good thing. Got a little wild, I think, and really confused the baristas and made it really complex. And I mean, you have to balance that. I can customize and create, the pink drink or whatever with, okay, it's getting out of control. And I think he's found the right balance there. And it sounds like, if you look at the results and you look at some of the recent press I've read and some of the interviews I've listened to of him, it sounds like he's applying a really good recipe for success.
A good playbook. Yeah,
a good playbook.
It was interesting. I think their stories changed shortly after he became CEO. The content they put out was more about who they are.
Yeah. They went back to their roots.
They did, yeah.
Right? I mean,
almost a rallying cry internally, I think.
Yeah, and which I think doing that, like going back to your, to the heart and soul of who you are. By the way, that's before you even start to deploy audience metrics and context and relevance. You have to know who you are as a brand.
Yeah.
And when things start to go awry, when you start to deviate from that, and we've seen that recently. In a couple of examples that we all can probably articulate, where things just go south really fast, by the way. It's never been more important to know who you are.
Mark Pritchard, my successor, CMO at P&G, has been there a long time. He was chairman of the ANA. There was a switch that was announced yesterday. That was his talk yesterday. He went through several P&G brands, back to its roots, back to its core, showed some of the original ads.
Wow.
And how obviously times have changed, but they stayed true to the spirit of the founder and founding of the brand.
Yeah, for sure. It's challenging as you, even with us, as Snapdragon appears in more product categories, right? How do you stay true to that brand ethos, but put it in the context of that product category? And it's a challenge. I mean, it's not necessarily easy all the time, but it's also not unachievable, right? If you're disciplined. And it's easy to be distracted. It really is in this world. It's really easy to get distracted.
There is.
And sometimes people want to pull you in a direction and you have to say no, right? And it's not as easy as it sounds.
You live in San Diego. What's your favorite hack in San Diego?
Favorite hack in San Diego?
Or your favorite place to be?
My favorite place to be is El Pueblo.
Oh, okay.
Taco shop.
Okay, good.
It's my favorite Mexican food place in San Diego.
Favorite activity outdoors?
Oh, favorite activity outdoors. I love going to the beach, being in the water. Beach? Usually go to 21st Street in Del Mar. Yeah, that's just since I was a kid, because I grew up in Solana Beach. So,
that's sweet.
I'm a local.
Yeah.
That's kind of my favorite. I just love touching down. I mean, I travel a lot for work. But I always love touching down in San Diego and walking out of the terminal and just exhaling.
It's a good feeling. Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
And Terminal 1's open now.
That's right.
Right, finally.
The airport's less of a nightmare.
Yeah. So we're here at the ANA. Bob Leodis is the CEO. He always ends every on stage. You'll experience this today. When you're finished, he gets on stage, asks you a few questions. But his last question is, what's your advice to the audience to do when they return to work? So I want to kind of ask that of you here in this small setting. I mean, you're an amazing CMO, and I'm not just saying that. I think what this discussion has been rich. You're more confident than when I talked to you 4 years ago. You're having fun.
I have some battle scars.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're really thriving in this role.
Thank you.
So I think your answer to that question, I think, is an interesting one for our audience. So as you think about all of your experiences since you've been CMO, what we talked about today, what's one thing you'd love the audience to think about, ponder, consider adapting from what we've just talked about?
I would say don't panic and just take things one step at a time. It's easy to panic, but we're not curing cancer. I wish we were.
Yeah.
I mean, our technology can do a lot, but just take things one step at a time. It's going to be okay.
I love it. Don, thank you, and all the best on the big stage today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
I'll try to be there and cheer you on.
I appreciate that.
We'll see if I'm recording a show or not, but if I'm not, I'll be there.
All right, thanks.
So thanks. It's a real gift.
Thank you. Appreciate it.